Hello, everyone. It's Friday, August 3rd, but let's call it Tuesday. In fact, let's call it Harp Tuesday. And I've been sick, which is why this is coming a little bit later than I would have liked, but here nonetheless. And in this episode, I thought I would talk about a fairly short episode about tone and a little bit about control, but basically about tone. And then at the end, there's a little bonus clip of about changing wire strings, because I just actually changed all these wire strings and thought I would take advantage of that and film that, because I don't think I had before. But the main thing that I want to talk about is tone, and it's quite such a fascinating thing, because apart from, I think there are some basics that you can talk about, but a lot of it is kind of mysterious and kind of something where you can't necessarily describe how it happens. I mean, think about the piano, which is you're further removed from what's creating the sound, right? You're just depressing this key, which makes this whole mechanism work, which little hammer hits the string. So how can what you do with this key have a effect on the quality of the sound? And yet you can have two people play the same piano and get totally different sound from it. And they couldn't necessarily tell you what they were doing. It's as I say, it's kind of mysterious. Um, and so then one of the important things to keep in mind when you're thinking about tone and sound quality is to listen for it and try to, as it were, hunt after the sound that you like. So when you hear yourself playing something and think, "Wow, that's sounding really nice," try to duplicate that. Try to do whatever it is that you're feeling in terms of physical emotions or how you're thinking about it, and so constantly be on the lookout for times where you are getting a really nice tone and think, "Oh wow, that's really nice. I want to do more of that." And I think, you know, if you can't hear it, you're not necessarily going to get a great tone, right? Because it starts in the mind, it starts in the ear, in terms of having that sound that you want, that idea of that sound that you want, sort of like a palette, right? And you try to build that palette and be more and more aware of the type of sound that you want, and that, I think, will help. And then in terms of some actual specifics, some physical specifics, so the first thing to think about, the basic thing to think about, is making sure that you are, we're going to get a nicer tone when we really close and use some strength and use the full string. So I kind of often think of pulling the sound out, as opposed to sort of a skittering surface sound, where maybe you're getting some sound, but you're not pulling out that deep, rich sound. And so simply, that can sound kind of esoteric, but simply thinking about using some strength and utilizing the the finger and the string and applying some pressure. And you can take that concept and apply it even when you're playing something softly. So, if we're going to play something really loud, we would dig in, and you can see, it was funny on the Greensleeves video, I think there's some close up, and you can really see at one point how, as I'm preparing to play, what the string gets pulled quite a ways out of position, right? There's a lot of force being loaded onto that string. right? So when we're playing something that's loud, it's easy to sort of load some force onto the string and pull that nice sound out of there. But you can do the same thing when you're playing softly. And imagine you're going to play something loudly, so you have some pressure on the strings. You know, where the fingers are digging in. We're applying some pressure, and then it's just we're going to release that pressure momentarily. Release that pressure a moment before we play. So instead of having a big sound, we're which I think gets a nicer, clearer, more beautiful sound than just sort of, it's about the same decibel level, but has a different quality when we're just sort of, as I say, maybe more thinking more of a surface sound as opposed to and obviously that's not something you can do if you're playing something fast, but if it's something slow, you can concentrate on trying to pull that nice sound out of there. So that's an interesting thing to think about, that idea of applying some pressure and then releasing and playing can be something interesting to think about and to experiment with. And something along the same lines is just thinking about control. And sometimes if we work on control, that can help to develop a good sound as well. And what I mean by that is, ideally, of course, we're able to graduate in terms of volume, very small amounts. So in other words, we're not just, well, I can play it loud or I can play it soft, but you can play it at every level in between there. So you can have that beautiful um, loud, soft rise and fall as you're playing a piece. Of course, you want to have that control, to have that sort of subtle dynamic change. And as you're doing that, you can also be thinking about drawing out a nice sound and practicing something like that going from soft to loud and then back down again, and seeing how gradual you can get that, and whether you can keep it so that each time it's a little bit louder, a little bit louder, a little bit louder, a little bit softer, a little bit softer, a little bit softer, a little bit softer. And you can do that with individual notes as well. And again, this whole idea of tone, this isn't something that, when you're first starting, there's a lot of stuff to think about, and I wouldn't worry over much about tone. But as you start to become comfortable on the harp, and then at any point thereafter, part of playing the harp beautifully is getting a really nice tone. And of course, as I say, you're building up this palette, this idea of what it can sound like, and I might like it when it sounds a certain way, and you might like it when it sounds a slightly different way. But that idea of thinking of how you would like it to sound and trying to achieve that sound, and so again, thinking about a nice closing of the hand, about applying some pressure, and about control, And all of those aspects will hopefully help build a beautiful tone. So that's all I have for this week, and I hope you found that useful, and I will see you in 2 weeks' time. Cheers.